Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session. Today, we are taking a first look at Totara Learn version 12. I'm Wesley Holden. I'm the community manager here at Totara Learning. I've spoken to many of you. If not, come to the Totara.community site and we can chat on the forums and answer questions and things like that for you. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we jump into our content for today. We are recording the session and we will be posting it publicly afterwards. In this case, this session is more intended for partners, so we'll be posting it in such a way that you'll be able to access the link and see it and share it within, within your company. But we ask that you don't share this particular version of this webinar to subscribers in the general community, just because we are trying to give partners a look at the software before it's released to the general public. Discussions and Q&A can continue on Totara.community, so if you do have questions that come out of the session, my email address is right there at the bottom, and you're also welcome to, a lot of you already talked to me through the community, so you're welcome to hit me up there with questions and things too. And if you don't have a community account, you can go and register for one. If you do work for a partner company, then you have the ability to go and get an account set up through your company, because that way you get extra access to the partner area of the site. Sorry about that. I was just turning off the timing on my slides. So let's jump straight into it, because there's honestly just a lot to cover. So today we're going to take a look at a lot of the changes in Totara Learn 12 really come from the fact that we have a lot of new folks on our design team. So we have we've expanded our design team to focus on UX and be able to really have an upgraded look and feel to the software, because a lot of the look and feel was really, we kept adding features, but it was time to kind of go back and refactor things to really bring them up to speed in terms of look and feel. And so what we've tried to do is make those changes in such a way that they will be impactful for subscribers without having a negative impact. Nothing is going to be suddenly change over or turn on by default or things like that. We've specifically gone through and made sure that we don't affect people that are already using the site, that we make things that you can turn on or things that you can set up in a new way if you choose to. So today we're just going to be looking sort of at screenshots of the software, and we're going to talk more conceptually about things. What we're going to be doing in the coming weeks is going to be digging more into features, so doing sessions where we dig deeper into what the course catalog looks like and how to set it up and things like that. Today it's really just about getting a look at what's changed in the software and some of the new things that you're going to be able to do for your folks. So here are some of the areas that we're going to talk about, things like blocks, talking about the course catalog, talking about how the front page and navigation are going to change a little bit, what the new site administration menu looks like, talk through the content marketplace, and then I think honestly the most important part of this webinar is pointing you to resources. What's available after we get off this call that you're going to be able to go and access if you need help. If you have questions as we're going through the session, please feel free to ask in the Q&A area or in the chat, because we don't have a ton of time and we have a lot to cover. Questions may be answered via email, depending on how specific the question is for your needs, or potentially through the community forums. But feel free to type in questions. So the first piece we're going to talk about is blocks. So you now have the ability, previously you had the ability to add blocks basically along the sides of the page, and that was pretty much it. And that went for the whole system, dashboards, front page, and courses. You now have the ability to have top and bottom block regions. So across the top, we've added a series of blocks. This one is the featured links block. And I'll talk more about how that's actually going to be changing as well. And the functionality has gotten even better. But you have the ability to add blocks across the top of the page, at the bottom of the page, as well as at the sides like we could do before. And that's going to be true all throughout the system. So you're not limited to doing that just in certain places. This is going to be all types of blocks as well, so featured links and HTML blocks and things like that, so that you're doing able to still do the customizations that you often do. And what I will say actually is that this is a site that is running essentially not the standard theme straight out of the box, but there are not a lot of modifications to this site. This really is using a sandbox that's pretty plain. So the things that we've done here are content-based, not customization. There's not custom code on this particular site. So the things you're seeing are all things that you'll be able to do out of the box. Another big piece, and some of these things are like very tiny changes, but really add up across the entire look and feel. You can now have blocks like this activities block that are borderless, so they don't have that sort of line at the top. There, you can also have header lists where it doesn't even have that activities bit, and you can get rid of icons. So as we've seen with other blocks, often there are icons or things like that included in them, so we can get rid of that sort of stuff if you choose to. You're still going to have the ability to have those things on your site, but it just gives you a little bit more control over what those blocks are going to look like and what you can do with them, really. So the block configuration, it's going to work the same way as it did before, where you go into the block settings and you can go and make changes. So changing the title, whether people can hide it, you can choose whether the header is going to show, whether there's going to be a border on it. Those sorts of things are all in the block settings where you'd expect to find them. Another big piece, we've adjusted the default footer of the site. So the top bar here is what the footer looks like on a Totara 11 site. On the bottom, this is a Totara 12 site. Ignore the big 3. That was from another part of our presentation. So you're able to really take it out of the box and immediately have a much smaller use of real estate there to give more real estate to your actual site content. Just a couple of odds and ends that came up with navigation that I didn't really have good screenshots for. The main menu is now turned off by default. So when you install a brand new site, the main menu that appears at the top of the page, that black bar that we saw a moment ago, is not going to be included by default. So you can choose to turn that on, because some sites, before the main menu bar existed, you had already created custom themes that had that sort of menu bar, or you have some other menuing method that you want to use. So that's going to be off by default. You can go turn it on if you need it. Within courses, we have changed the navigation block so that instead of being in the course and having my courses listed in this huge list off to the left-hand side, we've taken out the My Courses section and then added a new block called Course Navigation, so that when you are in a course page, you can see the components for that particular course. And so you can have a sidebar block if you want to give people just another method for navigating the content within that course. The top navigation area, so this has changed a fair amount as well. You'll notice that we've sort of compacted things. We've been able to move the logo. So when you add a logo to the site, it's going to be moved up into that navigation bar now instead of taking up extra space down below. There's also now third level menus. So before you could only have 2 levels for menu items in the main menu. And now you can have sub items as well, if you choose to. And that's still managed the same way as it was before, going through the site administration appearance tools. A couple other pieces, what this will affect learners a little bit more, is messages and alerts have now been compacted up in the right-hand side onto the navigation bar as well. So you just have one clean bar of stuff, basically, on top of your site, on top of your own content and structure. So people can get in and hit their messages, hit their notifications, get into their profile, access their language, all by hitting the drop-down next to their name. If you are using the front page of the site, so often people are using the front page to display content that's maybe a little more general for everybody in a company, or that's a little bit more of a marketplace or something like that. If you are using your front page, we've changed the display to just clean it up, honestly, and pretty significantly. Items have been streamlined and condensed into an improved display. So things like the list of courses has now been configured so it shows just the courses and not the categories, because getting into the category structure was sometimes not appropriate for a learner to get into. We've compacted site announcements. You can see here sort of the list down the side. Changed the existing course list block a little bit. Change the new courses and categories. So there's quite a few things here of just sort of bits and pieces that are typically on a front page that we've changed. And one other piece is that front page content is now added using the new ad block workflow. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a couple of seconds. But you're going to be able to go in, add a new block, and type in the name of the block and have it automatically be selected from a list. But you're going to be able to add blocks to that central area now to add content. It used to be that a lot of times it was sort of like a mix of like labels and uploaded files and things like that. But now you're actually going to be able to add blocks into that central area as well, a little bit more readily. This is one of the bigger changes, and personally, one of the ones that I'm probably most excited about. The site administration menu has been greatly improved. So a lot of folks were asking for the ability to customize their site administration menu, which you can now do. And also, it's honestly just a lot cleaner and easier to find things in, because before, a lot of times things were just sort of being added like to the bottom of a list, and now there's more workflow to it. And so what you can do is, and this is configurable, there's a site administration that comes out of the box. If I click on the gear icon at the top in that main menu bar, that navigation bar, I'll be able to get into my site administration from anywhere on the site. And you can create groupings of items. So I can go through and create custom names for things. I can create custom groupings for the different settings and things like that, or pages that I want to access. And you get to control that for yourself. So if we go into the administration navigation settings, this is where I can actually say, okay, here's the title of that category, and then add individual items to it if I want to. So here's everything under user administration, for example. So this should hopefully help people in terms of being able to find the settings they need. I know I've been using the system for 5 years now, and Moodle for about 5 before that, and I still sometimes have to search for things, because I'm not sure what page it's going to be on in terms of settings. But this site administration menu should help with that significantly, and the ability to honestly customize your own tool sets is going to be fantastic. It's also going to help a lot if you do have like new administrators or site managers who are coming in, so that we can have different selections as needed. And it's not just sort of like one list where things just sort of pop off or pop on. Okay. So again, pop over to the next slide. And I did see a question about if the site administration panel, is that going to be, is it a personal thing, the order of things, or is it going to be like by role or something like that? I actually need to look into that and see, because the site I've been playing on, I've been the only site administrator on it, so I hadn't looked from another person's perspective. So yeah, I'll follow up with you on that. Featured links have also changed. So featured links came out just within the last couple of releases, and has been a really great tool that's really like updated the look and feel of the software and given you a way to have more like galleries of courses, tiles, and things like that, rather than having sort of just like a static text list of things. So we've updated featured links even a bit more. Now you do have the gallery tile setting, which allows you to have things that are going, different images that are going through transitions. So we can say, we want it to fade out, fade in with something else. How do we want things to be displayed? Like, is it the same courses in the same order every time, or do we want different images and different things to come up, from sort of a gallery of items? So you get to decide how things are going to come through and what it's going to look like if somebody goes and hovers, how long it's going to take, etc. And that's something that you've seen it on other content management sites, and so it's going to be really helpful to have it here as well. And this is going to apply to things like having a specific image for a course or a program or certification. You can actually set, so using, and I'm going to show you a little bit more, but we actually use tiles on the Academy site, the community site, so that we can sort of have it flash through different courses with a couple of images to kind of draw your eye to it. You can do that in 12 as well. And have a gallery where it's actually scrolling through and maybe showing like recommended courses or something like that, where you set up that list for people to see, or what's new, and have, the 5 newest courses showing up for people and rotating through. I'm just looking through my notes to see, there's a lot of information that, we're going to be digging into more in upcoming webinars. This is sort of just kind of a quick what it looks like. So based on the way that the featured links has worked, and honestly, how much people have enjoyed it and been using it for demonstrating their content, putting it on dashboards, etc., we've rebuilt the course catalog. This is probably the biggest change that comes in the software in version 12. So you still have a lot of similar things to before, where you have the ability to come in and choose what filters you want to see, if people are going to be able to search or not, things like that on the catalog. So it still behaves like an embedded report in that sense. But now we have tiled items. So you can come in, you can create tiles similar to the way you would have done in featured links. You can go through, and I'll talk about templates in a second, but you can say, here's what a tile needs to have information-wise, here's what it's going to look like. We can mark things as featured. You can have the icons showing up for the sort of content and things like that that are going to be in the course, having different images for things. When someone goes and hovers over it, do you want them to get a pop-up, not a pop-up, but have another piece that pops up that gives them more information, like a description, and allows them to go and actually maybe enroll in the course if you want to, plus more details at the bottom. So this is going to be fully configurable, and it's something that you can choose to turn on your sites. Just going to zoom in a little bit on this. So the way that this works, the way that catalogs are going to be built is you're going to have tiles. Tiles are defined using templates. So you go through and say, okay, this tile or this content item, we'll say, is going to have this particular layout. There's going to be an image. There's going to be an icon. We're going to display what language it's in, what category it's in. So you get to decide within this tile exactly what's going to be displayed. And that's going to be using something called templates. And there will be upcoming webinars that we'll be scheduling to walk through that process of setting up the template and setting up the catalog itself. So a lot more information to come there. Another big piece that's coming is the content marketplace. So as you know before, we had a partnership with Open Sesame where we are able to deliver their content through a Totara site through an existing integration. And so the content marketplace is expanding that concept. Now we have an agreement with we're working with Go1 as a partner who is able to, they have the number of courses they had was something like, I think it's like 177,000 just for this particular screenshot. They have tons of courses out there. And so what you're able to do with Go1 courses is you enter an agreement as a partner with Go1, and we can provide you more information about that. Contact information, everything will follow on the next slide. But what you're able to do is pull in their content. Some of it is free, some of it is paid content. You can do subscriptions and things like that. So there's a lot more information there. They Go1 is kind of a marketplace in and of itself, as they bring in content from a lot of external sources. That's how they have just so many courses. So if you discover that you find a couple of Udemy courses that you really like and you want to get more content from them and do it through the content marketplace, you can do that. So you'll be able to find based on like particular providers or publishers, different types of content, different languages of content, etc. And it's all going to be searchable and built straight into, sorry about that, I clicked a little too soon, built straight into Totara Learn. It is not on by default. You have the ability to go in and set it up and essentially turn on that integration. It does require that you do have an account through Go1 as well. So basically you end up setting up an agreement with Go1 to purchase courses or do subscriptions or things like that, and then they provide the content. The content itself comes through as SCORMs. So there is a sort of integrated process where you go in and you sort of shop for courses, choose the ones you want, and then have those SCORMs embedded either in a single course or across multiple courses in the site, or if you want multiple SCORMs, multiple of those courses combined into one. There's a lot of different workflows that are available depending on how you want to get content into your site. So I'm just looking, there's a couple of questions that I'm going to come back to in a little bit. If you are interested more in Go1, I think that we've talked to a lot of partners. I believe a lot of the CPMs have been reaching out to partners and kind of talking about that new ability. If you want more information, though, go to totara.go1.com. You can learn more about the integration specifically. If you are a Totara customer, and you can talk to your partner if you are interested in that sort of content. And a lot of partner companies also have agreements directly with content providers as well if they're not one themselves. Also, you can go to Totara or email totara@go1.com, and they can answer questions for you too. So you can kind of come to Totara or come to Go1 for questions. Okay. Just a couple of useful resources. So I'm going to pop out of the slideshow here in a minute, and I'm going to show you where you can find documentation and things like that. But just very quickly, your two biggest resources are going to be Totara.help and Totara.community. Help does not require a login, Totara.community does. So if you are a partner and you're going to the Totara community site, one thing you should see, and actually I'm going to pop out so that I can show you this, because sometimes what happens is we have new partner staff that come on board, and they come to the community, they do their training, but if you aren't linked to your partner, like linked to your company, then we don't know that in the community site. It just knows that you are a person who wants to access things. And so what we need to have you do is have your company link you so that you see this partner area, because there are marketing materials. There's also the partner area that lets you get into discussion forums, things like that. But there is some content and announcements and things like that that are partner specific. So please make sure if you're on this, if you're on this call and you work for a partner company, that you're talking to your partner or talking to your company about being added and linked up through the community site so that you see everything. Okay. The other piece is Totara.help. I'm going to pop over that real quickly. Oops. As you all watch me not be able to type. There we go. The Totara.help site is going to have 12 documentation up. I don't believe it's up just yet. It's in its final QA stage. But you will be able to, when you click on that Totara Learn logo, you'll see Totara Learn version 12 here at the top. The most important thing for getting up and running with new versions is going to be to go to that page and go to What's New. Right now that link doesn't have anything behind it, but if you go to What's New, it's basically a collection of all of the things, all of the highlights for this release. So it'll be like, oh, thank you. Still seeing my slide deck and not my screen. I appreciate the heads up. I usually don't share just my PowerPoint, but this morning I had. There we go. Thank you. So let me take you back a step. If you go to help.totaralearning.com or just totara.help, click on the Totara Learn logo, you'll be able to see, not at this moment yet, but soon, the Totara Learn version 12 documentation. If I click in there, this is where you're going to want to check. You can go see the installing Totara Learn to get information about like server requirements and things like that. If you're upgrade instructions. The most important thing for a lot of you is going to be what's new, so you can go and see what features are available, what things have changed, screenshots, instructions on setting things up, etc. So that'll be a big piece for you. Okay. And let me just pop back over. There's a couple other things I just want to talk through quickly because the release will be coming soon, and we want to make sure that you've got access to the right resources and everything. Pop the slideshow back up. There we go. Okay, so check the documentation. There will be an update to the version comparison guide, so if you do need a quick list of what features are in each version, that's available also through the documentation site totara.help. Release notes. So this is a big one. The release notes are often the first way that people know that a new release has come out. Go to the Totara community site. In the community course, go to Totara Learn Release Notes here, right here. And you're going to want to subscribe to that. So it's a discussion forum, and we post the release notes for every version there. So come in there, click subscribe to this forum. That way you'll get an email every time a new version of Totara Learn is released. So that includes evergreen releases, which come more frequently, as well as the point releases and security releases too. That way, and this forum is exclusively release notes. It's just us posting out information to you, so you're not going to get a lot of other information through it, questions or things like that. So this is a good one to subscribe to for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I know there are a few questions that I'm going to field. Our next session is actually tomorrow. We have a graphical reporting session coming up, talking about, and this is going to be actually focused on Totara 11 functionality still, just because that's what most people will still be using out in the field, and this is a community webinar. Graphical reporting, so I'm going to be talking about how to use those graphical reporting features that a lot of people have, and they're like, maybe tried to play with a little bit, but aren't quite sure on how to use. So we're going to build a couple of sample reports, talk about the features that are available there. So join us for that tomorrow. If you need to sign up for it still, go to the Totara.community site, and there is an upcoming webinars page that you can go to and see all of the webinars that are coming, and click on the registration links for those. So what I'm going to do is pop out and look at questions. And I'm still learning the Totara Learn 12 release as well, so we'll definitely need to follow up with some of these. So we've got a question: has the workflows for each role been updated to make it easier to define workflows for roles? That's a good question. I'd have to check and see. I think that one came in when I was talking about the site administrator panel. So I'd have to check and see. I don't believe there's any workflow stuff around that. It's more just what, the literally the items. You can customize the menu so that people can see certain items in it. Um, Next question, can you link the content marketplace to other libraries via an API or similar? So you can, yeah, you can connect up, let me put it this way, you can connect up Totara Learn sites with other libraries as well. Like I know people have connected, like partner companies have connected with like lynda.com before, which I think is now LinkedIn Learning. Folks have connected with like Open Sesame, which now became a core integration. There are other integrations out there as well. So the API does allow you to connect with other things too. Can we select what all courses we want to show at Content Marketplace for clients? Can these courses be restricted to a particular audience? So the Content Marketplace stuff is going to behave similarly to the way things behave within your own site. So you are the one who goes into the Content Marketplace and chooses what courses will be visible to your clients. They will then the Content Marketplace lets you go and select things and purchase things, and then you take that content and display it to your clients the same way you would display your other courses. So yes, they would still be filtered through, if I went and looked at the course catalog, I might see a mix of courses that you got from the Content Marketplace, courses that you've designed in-house, as well as programs and certifications. Okay, just looking down through to see if there are other questions. Thinking of our own library. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and there are other folks that have done like connections to like their internal libraries and things like that, especially folks that are dealing with like highly technical pieces of training where it's like aerospace or things like that. Will we as partners get to see the released code before the public release dates? Because it's open source, it's all released at once. When we release the code, it's out there. But the way that subscribers get their code is through the partners. So you will be the gateway that gets the code to your clients. Can you still search across set admin settings, or can you only organize them? That's a really good question. I have to go back and double check and see if the search box is in there. Let's just jump back in and see from a screenshot. Yep, so we still have that search box in there. Yep, and I see people asking for a release date. So here's where we're at with that. We are basically in our final stages for release, doing all of the last bits. So my understanding is that we are looking at this week, assuming that nothing big suddenly comes out of QA or something like that. So I don't have a specific day of the week for you because it comes down to the team in New Zealand and when they load it up and get it ready to go. But yeah, so I don't have a confirmed release date for you just yet. We wanted to do these webinars now though because we wanted you to know what was coming and be prepared for it. So thank you all for your time and attention. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. We will be running more sessions that get deeper into the features coming up. So please keep an eye out for those. And we'll also be posting up this recording behind an unlisted link so you can share it within your own company with your colleagues as needed. But please hold off on sharing with subscribers just yet because we want to kind of give the partners time to get in and get used to it before we release it to everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. Thank you all for your time and attention. Have a great rest of your day.